Alright, so we're going to talk a little bit about silver and gold. About one of my favorite topics, if not the most favorite topic of old J Snip 4. But I was reading, I think this was on Silver Doctors, but someone was, the article they're talking about, they were reading some of the reports out about where, you know, the other day I told you there was a huge short position again now on the gold market, basically the COMEX contracts, and obviously that would normally foretell a coming crash in prices or just a big hit in prices, whatever, precious metals prices. But I'm not sure where they got this, how they got this data, which report this was from, but they show that there's a bunch of banks, which is typical, I guess, you know, when you look at the COT report, all right, that's the Commitment of Traders report, which is basically who's long, who's short, whatever. You've got three categories: commercials, which are basically the banks; you've got large speculators, which are usually the mining companies; and then third, you have the small investors, which almost don't matter because the other two can move the market by themselves if they really wanted to. But you get to see which of those three groups, or all three of those groups, how they're positioned. Did they go long? How many contracts are short? You know, so I'm not sure where they got this exact data from, but they're saying that J.P. Morgan, because if you recall a little while back, like as in I think around 2 months ago or so, J.P. Morgan took out some long positions, and quite a number of long positions in the gold market, which again would be a bet that the price is going to go up in the near future. So what they're saying in this report or whatever is that JP Morgan is definitely still long, while the other banks are the ones that went ahead and went short here pretty big. So you have JP Morgan, this is what it appears to be. JP Morgan, the lone banker, claiming, in other words, from their contracts, that the prices are going to go up for gold, so they're going to capitalize on that. Thus, they've got long contracts. The other bankers, the other majority bankers, are betting short significantly. So the article basically is asking, well, who's going to win? Do we trust that we have a bunch of other banks shorting the market, or do we trust the market maker himself, JP Morgan, who pushes the market where they want the market to go always, even though they're the lone ranger, so to speak, in this priceless metals rigging. And I thought about that for a second, and a little bit of WebBot came into play in my mind when they talked about the WebBot, when it talked about you're going to see the precious metals prices rising, right? It's definitely coming. And it's almost going to be like as if whatever mechanism was making the market rigged, shorting the market, every time the price would rise, they slam it. Every time the price would rise, they slam it. And then all of a sudden that doesn't happen. Price goes up, wait for the slam, up, no slam. Huh, they didn't slam it all day. We went to bed, woke up, never saw a slam even in the middle of the night. Wow. Because you have the excess markets in the middle of the night. So, okay, interesting. So the next day comes, market starts to rise again. I'm talking precious metals market. Starts to rise again. Okay, they're slamming it, don't slam it. And the way it was written in the WebBot report was as if it was people decide, we've been doing this for so long, we've been rigging this market, we've been manipulating the prices, we're not doing it anymore. Maybe they had a little feeling of like this was wrong, so we're going to stop. I don't know. But that's how it came across in the data, as if they just decided to quit doing it anymore. So the reason I thought about that, even though you can't really get that from the story I just said, is because simply, if it's JP Morgan that went long and stayed long and is literally fighting against the other banks, so to speak, right? Because they went short, JP Morgan went long, and JP Morgan staying long, is that the sign that, hey, the market rigger of market riggers is deciding to throw in the towel, right? I mean, I don't know. But, I mean, what was it, 2 days ago, we had silver up 50 cents during the day. And gold was up near, I think it may have been right at 30 or just touching $30 an ounce. It was almost getting close to touching $1,400, man. That's way beyond the little $1,300 that really mattered as far as the technical charts go, that are showing gold is going back up based on the technical charts. So again, we know there's a lot of contracts right now that are short, but then we have JP Morgan who's fighting it going long. I mean, what is this? Some kind of, you know, banker battle? You got John Corzine's son found dead last night? What? Well, the story came out last night. Maybe it was the day before that it happened, but, you know, so I don't know. I mean, this is just crazy, but it's worth talking about, worth mentioning. So I figured I'd mention it on my way over here to the parts store. I gotta get a couple of tiny spools of wire. I've got a little camera on my little quadcopter. I've got that camera system, which is this camera I'm using right now, the GoPro 3, Hero 3. And at nighttime, it doesn't have very good quality viewing, what they call Lux rating, L-U-X. But it is an awesome HD camera, but it's designed not to be used. It's not a night vision camera, obviously. But I bought this little tiny one a while back that is a very good low light camera. It's not night vision either, but it's a very good low light camera. And if I'm going to first person view out of this thing, I'd like to be able to fly at night, to tell you the truth, sometimes. And I'd like to be able to see pretty decently what I'm looking at. So that's one issue, not a huge issue, but the other issue is the wireless video transmitter, which is 5.8 gigahertz. I tested it, and I may have went 100 feet, and it started getting real scrambly, and you know, I don't know if it was interference or just the signal losing out. It was bad. Like, I'm thinking, this thing can go away, this thing can easily do 1,000 feet, easily. Probably much further, but I don't want to test that further yet, that much further. So I realized I got to go lower on the gigahertz. I kind of knew that in the beginning, but I took the advice of one of these guys, flyers, whatever, and figured, well, they do this, let me just go with what he says. But I know quite a bit about radio frequencies, 2.4, 5.8, 900 megahertz, and I've always known through wireless internet or wireless Wi-Fi, they do make 900 megahertz also, and it will penetrate through trees, through walls, that kind of thing quite well compared to 2.4, and even way better than 5.8. 5.8, forget about it. So I'm knowing this, but I'm like, well, it's gonna be a clear line of sight. You know, I'm gonna be able to see the copter flying, the quadcopter. So even though it's 5.8, it shouldn't matter too much. Well, wrong. And it may have been just because maybe in the neighborhood there's a bunch of 5.8 gigahertz, you know, phones or something, you know, cordless phones. I don't know. So I looked online and found a 1.3 gigahertz, which I found 900, but I did a lot of course, like you would always do a lot of reviews, look online, what are people saying about 900, and I know that the smart meters on people's houses are 900 megahertz. And I have a thing in my laptop, a little adapter that I bought a while back, where I can look at the spectrum of 900 megahertz and 2.4 gigahertz. It's real good when you're doing any kind of install. I went to Pastor Dowell's a couple years back to help him rebroadcast the signal in the church, on his church, down to his house, so that, because his house had the internet, so they needed to share that up there without having to pay for DSL, whatever, up there at the church, which I think they actually ended up doing ultimately, but you couldn't get a signal up there through the trees and through everything else with anything other than 900 megahertz. So I went up there, but when I turned the device on, I ran the spectrum analyzer just to see what was in the air, so to speak, and there was something at 900, and I don't know the exact megahertz, but 900 something. So long story short, it's the smart meters across America, they use 900. But there's a couple, actually more than that. I think there's about 4 or 5 different channels in the 900 megahertz range you can use. So my thing was, if I get this little transmitter, I don't see where I can change the channel. It almost looks like it's set on 910 megahertz, And what if there's one of these meters that's not on the exact same channel? Maybe they're using, let's say, 925 megahertz. Well, I don't want to interfere with anything else or even get close to interfering with anything else, so I opted for the 1.3 gigahertz because there's pretty much nothing right now using that. So there should be a pretty interference-free channel. Yes, it's higher than 900 megahertz, therefore it doesn't have the penetration to go through stuff as good as 900. However, it's still way better than 2.4, and it's close enough to a lower range, you know, like 900, that it should be okay. And I've seen people go out way far, first-person viewing, whatever, their airplane, you know, remote control airplane, or one of these quadcopters. I mean, if this thing can stand in the air for over 20 minutes, and it can travel at 22 miles an hour, you can get some distance out there. I mean, you know, it'd be neat to just go like a mile, half a mile. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm at the parts store. I gotta get some additional wiring to give myself a couple extra power leads and one video lead, so that I can switch cameras without having to like take the case off and resolder stuff. I'm not doing that. I'm gonna have a couple different, you know, additional leads coming down so I can tap into them on the fly, so to speak, and do this. So I'll be sending y'all some more video when I get this stuff going again. And I've been flying it a little bit. Crashed into a flagpole. Only thing standing out that I was worried about, far away, how the hell do you take something, it's 100, 150 feet away. I know depth perception, when you have something this big, flying it becomes an issue as soon as you go about, you know, 60, 70 feet easily. But I'm thinking, what are the chances of me hitting that pole? I'll make sure I go a little extra further away. No, wrong. Bam, right into the pole. Cutting a little turn, boom. I'm like, oh crap, now I know I broke something. And I see it slide down the pole, to kind of hit the pole, just fell right down. The blades turn off, boom, the rotor blades turn off. So I'm like, oh, here it is. I was waiting for this day. At least I got some spare blades that came with this thing, because I had a feeling that was definitely it. So I went and picked the thing up, looking at it, flipping it around. I don't see anything wrong. No cracks, no breaks, no nothing. Not even the blades bent. And I'm like, are you serious? So I pick it up, set it down, turn the knobs to get the blades going back up. It looked good. I hovered it off the ground for about 3 feet. Perfect. Wow. Went and flew it some more, and it was great. So, you know, a couple little small crashes. That was the worst one. And then another one, had a bush next to me on the right, and I'm looking this way, you know, so when it's coming around to me, I'm not looking at the bush, you know, and it was a little low, so boom, it hit the bush. Not a big deal, didn't really do anything, but I did crash it, so, you know, that does count. But I gotta tell you, this thing is solid, and it is called the DJI Phantom 2. If anyone wants to have one of these as a toy, go get the first one, the Phantom, the DJI Phantom. And then what you do is you get there's a battery pack door mod that they sell for a few bucks that enables you to stick 2 22 milliamp hour batteries in it, so you can get double the life flight time as the original battery, which is about 9 or 10 minutes, and I think you can get closer to 20 minutes by doing the double battery mod on these things. And you can find them used for sure now that the Phantom 2 is out, and you might be able to find one for, you know, 300 bucks maybe. And I saw one the other day, actually. The guy was selling used. It had everything that pretty much I'm telling you mine has, except it's the first version and had a few different things, but it was used, obviously. 500 bucks. Really? 500 bucks for one of these used ones. That was the first version model. Man, not bad at all. So anyways, if anyone's interested, that's the model, DJI Phantom, and then the DJI Phantom 2. Gotta run.